In this lesson, we're going to learn about graphing f of x when we have the entire quadratic function ax squared plus bx plus c. So we're going to use this formula to find the axis of symmetry and vertex. We're going to graph it and find the maximum and minimum values of a quadratic function. So if we take a look at this function right here, we notice that this right here is the axis of symmetry. This is our y-intercept. Y-intercept is c. That's this part right here. There's your c. The x-coordinate of the vertex, so we have x and y. So the x-coordinate of the vertex can be found with this formula, negative b over 2a, which we're talking about this a and this b. Then the axis of symmetry is that x value. So if this is x equals 5, the axis of symmetry is x equals 5. So let's take a look at example 1. Find the axis of symmetry of the graph of f of x equals 2x minus 4x plus 5. So in order to find the axis of symmetry, we're going to use negative b over 2a. So remember, this is a, b, and c. So I have negative right out here, then negative 4 over 2 times 2, which gives me negative 4 over 4, which will end up giving me a positive 1. So my axis of symmetry is x equals 1. Okay, now that I know my x value here, because that is the axis of symmetry, is the x value of the vertex, I need to find my y value. Well, if you recall, f of x is the same as y. So we have y equals 2x squared minus 4x plus 5, and x equals 1. So now I'm going to replace my variable. So y equals 2 times 1 squared minus 4 times 1 plus 5. So y equals 2 minus 4 plus 5. So y equals 3. So therefore, my vertex of this function is at 1, 3. Now it's your turn. Go ahead and answer questions 1 and 2 on your handout, and then when you're done, answer the questions in the Ed Puzzle activity. Example number 2, we're going to graph quadratic functions in the form of f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So step 1, find and graph the axis of symmetry. So I've got x equals negative b over 2a. So the opposite of negative 2 over 2 times 1 gives me 2 over 2, which is 1. So my axis of symmetry is x equals 1. So I'm going to go ahead and graph that. There is my axis of symmetry. So now I need to plot the vertex. So if I know x is 1, so I've got y equals 1 squared minus 2 times 1 minus 3. So y equals 1 minus 2 minus 3. So y equals negative 4. So my vertex here is 1, negative 4. So I'm going to plot that there. So 1, negative 4. This is my vertex. Now, use the y-intercept to find 2 or more points on the graph. So the y-intercept, if you recall, is c. The y-intercept is C. So in this case, my y-intercept is -3 right here. So this is my y-intercept. So I have 0, -3. Now, because this is my axis of symmetry, I can now plot this point right over here. Step 4, draw a smooth curve through the points. So I've got my smooth curve through the point. So taking a look at my domain, which as we recall is the x value, can be anything. So all real numbers. Now the range cannot go below here, so my range is y is greater than or equal to -4. Now it's your turn. When you're finished, answer the questions in the Edpuzzle activity, so hit pause now. In our next example, we're going to find the maximum and minimum values. So the maximum value is the highest point. The minimum value is the lowest point. If you have a negative a, so a is less than 0, that means your graph is going to point down and you'll have a maximum. If a is greater than 0, you're going to have a minimum because your graph is going to point up. So if we take a look at example 3, tell whether the function f of x equals 5x squared plus 15x minus 10 has a minimum or maximum value. Then find the value. So first of all, if this is positive, the parabola opens up and has a minimum value. So the parabola opens up because a is greater than 0. So it has a minimum value. Okay, so now then find that value. So first we need to find the x coordinate of the vertex. So first, find the x coordinate of the vertex. And we do that with negative b over 2a. So remember, this is a, b, and c. So we have 15 over 2 times 5, which is going to give us a negative 3 halves. So x equals negative 3 halves. Now that we have the x value, we need to find the y value. So we're going to evaluate the function where x equals negative 3 halves. So that means we've got y equals 5 times negative 3 halves squared plus 15 times negative 3 halves, minus 10. So we end up with y equals 5 times 9/4 plus 15, times, what is that? Negative 45 halves minus 10, which gives us a final value of negative 21 and 25 hundredths. So the minimum value is negative 21 and 25 hundredths. Go ahead and hit pause and solve your turn number 4. Example 4, finding a minimum value. A company plans to have coffee mugs produced with a company logo on them. The cost of each mug depends on the number of mugs that are ordered and is modeled by the equation where X is the number of mugs ordered and Y is the cost in dollars. What is the minimum cost of each mug? So the first thing we're going to do is find the X of the vertex. So X equals negative B over 2A. So I have negative 100th over 2 times A, which gives me 500. So then I'm going to go ahead and find my Y value. So when I multiply that out, I have 25 minus 50 plus 30, so Y equals 5. So that means the minimum cost of each mug is $5. Remember, dollar sign goes in front, not behind. So now let's take a look at example 5. Two jugglers toss a beanbag in the air. The function represents the height in meters of a red beanbag after t seconds. The height of the blue beanbag, t seconds after it's launched is shown in the graph. Which beanbag went higher? Well, in order to do that, we need to find the vertex of the red. So let's do that. So X equals negative B over 2A. So we've got negative 5 over 2 times negative 5, which gives me a positive 1/2. So now I'm going to find my Y value. So I've got negative 5 times 1/2 squared plus 5 times 1/2 plus 1. So I've got negative 5 times 1/4 plus 5/2 plus 1. So when I add that all up, I end up with 2 1/4. So my vertex is 1/2, 2 1/4. So let's see, I've got 1/2, 2, so that's 2 1/2, 2 1/4. So this right here is my red beanbag max. So which one went higher? The blue one. So the blue beanbag went higher. Can't forget my period there. All right, it is now your turn. Go ahead and try question 5. Hit pause, and let's see how you do.